Joni. Good to see you today, and you're recognized. Please
Great.
proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being with us today as well. And Senator Markey's line of questioning actually will lead into my line of questioning as well. And I know that the American people really have the Russian invasion of Ukraine first and foremost on their minds, as well as higher energy costs. So I am of the thought that energy security is national security. And while it is absolutely clear that you support America's clean energy economy, my concern is that electric vehicles are being prioritized over our biofuels. And this will only make us more dependent on those foreign adversaries who control the majority of worldwide production for a number of the key components that do go into electric vehicles: the cobalt, the lithium, the graphite. So we do need to be aware of that. And here is an interesting statistic that goes along with this. The Energy Information Administration has projected that 79% of car sales in 2050, so about another 30 years away, will use liquid fuels. And the USDA states that ethanol has a 46% lower greenhouse gas profile than gasoline. And I know you're from the Midwest, and I know there's a lot of biofuels as well in Indiana. Would you agree that the renewable fuel standard and biofuels are an equally, if not more effective solution to the American energy independence that we need, while also securing a cleaner energy future?
Well, thanks for the question. And as you note, I come from a part of the country where this is very important as well. As a matter of fact, when I was mayor and ran the water utility for our city, my biggest customer was the ethanol plant in our community. When you look at our EV policy, of course, the focus is on zero emissions vehicles. But I also have a great deal of regard for the role of biofuels and homegrown fuels in America's energy mix. And while our work on the zero emission vehicles doesn't really allow us to pick winners and losers outside the boundaries of the categories put forward in the law, certainly am interested in opportunities that exist, and notably one area where I think there's increasing interest, while there, of course, is a continued very important role in fueling the cars on the road today, is around sustainable aviation fuels, and would love to have a dialogue with you on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and I do appreciate that. And if there are additional ways that we can use our biofuels, we certainly want to find those avenues. You did just mention zero emissions for those electric vehicles, and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Within that, electric vehicles are considered zero emissions, and biofuels are considered low emissions. But when we have looked into this, electric vehicles actually do have a significant greenhouse gas footprint from the beginning of their manufacture, whether that's battery creation, actually building the vehicle, and not to mention that probably a lot of the electricity that's being used to power those vehicles is coming from non-renewable sources. So could you agree that perhaps those electric vehicles are not truly zero emissions?
Well, any economic activity, manufacturing, could have a carbon profile. But we also have done the analysis to demonstrate that even if the electricity is generated from fossil fuels, the carbon emissions associated with driving a vehicle will typically be lower if it is an electric vehicle compared to if those fuels are being combusted in the vehicle itself. But certainly would agree that this is not a black or white issue, that there are many different energy profiles of many different ways of getting around. Again, I think back to my experience as mayor and our enthusiasm for using CNG in the vehicles that we had at the time, even taking waste gas from our wastewater facility and putting it into our trash trucks.
Yeah, I think that we should be exploring all different opportunities that are out there, but do want to make sure that at least our American public understands that with the creation of these vehicles and their battery components, many of those components coming from overseas and adversarial countries, just understanding the impacts that we have in creating those vehicles as well. But thank you. I appreciate your time so much, Mr. Secretary.
Thanks, Senator.
Senator Ernst, thanks so much for those questions and for joining us today. But the point that you make is a good one. One of the points you make is a good one. I understand. I've added my stats just to double check, but I think our friends at General Motors have indicated they're going to not be selling vehicles that are powered by fossil fuels at some point in time. And I think the number 2035 sticks in my mind. The folks at Chrysler, what used to be Chrysler, have similar kind of expectations. Those are being pushed by market forces more than anything else. But as guys spent a lot of years in airplanes, Navy airplanes, the importance of biofuels with respect to air travel, and that's a key. That's a big important one. I'm glad to see the Secretary's on top of that. All right, thank you, Joni. All right, and I believe the next person on our list is Senator Duckworth. I believe she's joining us by WebEx. Senator Duckworth, are you there?
I sure am, Mr. Chairman, and I agree with you on the importance